sunny California, which sounds lovely, Northern Virginia. Awesome. All right, well, it is 12:02, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is Mary, and I am with Fairy Godboss, and I am so excited to be with all of you today. Before we dive into our conversation with our friends at CDW, a few housekeeping things. This conversation will be recorded and shared with all of the registrants via email afterward. So keep an eye on your inbox if you want to revisit the conversation. We'll also be saving some time at the end of the conversation for Q&A with our panelists. So please use the Q&A function. It should be at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You also have the option to ask questions anonymously as well, and we will try to get to as many as possible. So again, thank you all for being here. We are just so thrilled to be joined by CDW. For those of you who don't know, CDW is a leading multi-brand provider of information technology solutions to business, government, education, and healthcare customers. So with that being said, I'd love to turn it over to our panelists to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they do at CDW. So Tam, let's start with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Tamara Fletcher, affectionately known as Tam. We're all family now, so please call me Tam. And I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at CDW. Just a little background, I've been at CDW for almost 16 years. It'll be 16 years next month. So I started when I was 10 officially. And I have been leading diversity and inclusion for 8 of those 16 years. So again, really excited to be here, really excited to kind of talk through and share my journey alongside Katrina and Shannon, and just really excited again. So thank you for having me.
Great, thanks, Tam. Katrina, how about you're next?
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. Thrilled to be here with you today. My name is Katrina Williams, and I am the head of sales and ITS capability for CDW. So that's the fancy way of saying my team and I are responsible for helping our sellers and our technical coworkers that are customer facing onboard into the organization and also continue to grow and develop the skills of these coworkers throughout their career at CDW. So in those roles, they see my team and I right when they first start with us, and we are there along their entire career journey with them. So we have the pleasure of working with them to grow and develop their skill set to help them be successful and achieve their career goals. I have been with CDW for 22 years in September. So been around for a while. I also started like Tam when I was 10. We'll just go with that. And I actually entered the organization as an account manager in our organization. That's where I started my career at CDW. And then I rose to other levels of responsibility like sales manager, sales director, and then joined the learning and development side of the house, focusing on development for our sellers, and then had the opportunity to work with our technical coworkers as well. And now I lead the function that serves both parts of those organizations. So it's been an amazing career journey, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today. So thanks for having me.
And Great. Fun fact, Katrina was my sales manager way back in the day. So Katrina and I go way back.
I love that fun fact. And thanks for sharing, Katrina. And last but not least, I want to turn it over to Shannon to introduce herself.
All right, great, Mary. Thank you. Thanks, guys. So nice to be with you guys today. Happy Friday. Excited to be here. So my name is Shannon. So I'm actually a senior recruiter here at CDW. So I am coming to you from Chicago. I actually live in a northern suburb in Libertyville, Illinois. My husband and my two girls. Fun fact: my husband also works here at CDW, and we've both been here, which is crazy as we talk about our journeys. 22 years now with CDW. 20 of those years for myself have been in the talent acquisition department, hiring for various roles throughout CDW. So it's been amazing to see the growth and just change and opportunities in within CDW over the last gosh, 10, 20 years, especially with the elevation of women, especially women in leadership like Katrina and Tam. Very inspirational and exciting to witness, I know for myself as a recruiter here at CDW. So I actually, as a senior recruiter, I recruit for various sales field seller roles. They're all focused in a specific geographic location throughout the United States. And so that's a lot of what I'm hiring for currently. You might hear titles like business development or account executive or field account executive roles is what I mainly focus on. And really at the core of those type of positions, it's finding those people that are just, they're passionate about building relationships with customers. They're passionate and excited about growing CDW's footprint in terms of the technology and solutions that we can provide as well. So people that are driven and really motivated for a sales career here. CDW is very performance and sales driven, so that's at the core of a lot of what we do our hiring for. So nice to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon. And I love the common theme, longevity in your career with CDW specifically, which is a great segue to our next question. Katrina, let's start with you. I'd love to hear what initially attracted you to a career at CDW, but most importantly, what's kept you there?
Yeah, that's great. I actually love this story, and I think about it often because I've been here. It'll be 22 years in September. Obviously, I love it here because we're here that long. And as you can see, it's not uncommon to hear about coworkers with such long tenure at CDW. And that really is part of what attracted me to CDW. So I was working somewhere else for 8 years before joining the organization. And when I made the decision to leave my prior organization and look for something somewhere else, the only place I applied was CDW because I was so convinced that this was the right place for me. And the reason I felt so strongly about that was a couple of different things. First, I felt instantly that our culture was one where you felt like you were part of a small business and a family. You weren't a number, you were a person. But yet you had that culture and that environment and the opportunity that comes along with a large organization. So when you look at things like career mobility, upward mobility, cross-functional opportunity to learn the business at a more global perspective, it felt like a small company with the opportunity of a large company. So that was one key driver. The other was really the philosophies of the business that CDW held and what we call our CDW way. And that it rang so true to me just on a personal values system that I thought this is the place for me. It was the only place I applied when I made the decision to have a career change. And thankfully that worked out for me. So culture, opportunity, the people are just amazing that we get to work with every day, and I don't think it can be beat. So that was my reason a long time ago. It's still my reason for staying today. Throughout my career, I have been given the opportunity to work on meaningful projects in our business. I am someone who thrives on change, and that is something that is constant at CDW, is this evolution of our business. So I always feel challenged in my work. I've been given unique opportunities that I don't know that I would be able to have elsewhere, personal development opportunities I've had, and the career mobility that I was really seeking when I chose to leave my other organization and look for a company I could have a career with, not just a job. And that's what's kept me here.
I love that. And I love that point about a career, not just a job. And I think that's so important, and know that that's something that so many women in the Fairy God Boss community are looking for. So thank you so much for sharing that. Tam, would love to hear a little bit about, you lead culture. So like what attracted you in the first place? What's kept you there?
So interesting story. I definitely was attracted to CDW for a job initially, right? I actually have a bachelor's degree in chemistry, very random for me to be doing DE&I. But I thought, okay, the best way for me to maybe use this degree is to maybe go into pharmaceutical sales. In my mind, I'm fresh out of college. I'm thinking I need a couple years of sales experience. I'll just go to CDW. I think that this is a great place. It was a great culture. It was wonderful people, very welcoming people. So in my mind, I'm thinking this is a very short-term stay for me so that I can go into pharmaceutical sales and, you know, leverage this sales experience. And here I am 16 years later, right? So my initial thought of this being, you know, kind of a one-time thing has turned into just kind of my purpose. Really, I feel here on this earth. And some of the things that has kept me beyond that 1 to 2 years is the people. You really cannot stress enough just the environment in which people are warm and welcoming, and it is really such a familial feel that you have, regardless of whether or not you're in a large building or whether or not you're working from home. There's just a family feel, and people are just so embracing. It's so funny. I had a conversation with one of my new direct reports. She joined in February, and she was just raving about the experience and how welcoming and warm the people are. And so 16 years later, that's still the sentiment and experience that people have when they come. And that's just an exciting thing. I think for me, another thing that kept me was the ability to really navigate a career, right? I had a very untraditional career path. Katrina plays, and she knows that she plays a large role in that, because I was in sales and I was feeling like, I don't know if sales is for me after all of that, right? And so I had a conversation with her as my manager, and she helped me think outside the box in terms of what experiences and opportunities I could have to leverage to really manifest a career and really kind of reach my highest potential. So thank you, Katrina, for that. I'm forever indebted to you. And so I was able to mobilize my career, right? And I literally fell into the culture side. I literally fell into DE&I, but I say that I fell into my purpose here. And that has everything to do with our ability to really navigate and try untraditional ways of figuring out what our career looks like and gaining experience in different aspects along the way. So definitely that career mobility, definitely the people, definitely now the opportunity to really live out a purpose, right? This is purposeful work. It is challenging work, but it is purposeful work. And when you know that you're making a difference, not only for an organization, but for the people within those organizations and perhaps the future of the organization, that's a really powerful thing. And that is what keeps me here 16 years later and probably 16 plus years more.
I love that. And, the sentiments that y'all both shared, it's really easy to see now why women in our community give CDW a 4.5 wings out of 5, which is amazing. And 91% of women would recommend CDW to other women, which is just incredible. So you both kind of touched on this, but Katrina, I would love to hear, from your perspective about the culture at CDW and how it supports and advances women specifically.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this because I think it's a pretty special story, actually. And I think it plays into what Tam was talking about, and that story is not unusual here. So I would first say we really do have a culture that cultivates and inspires leaders and coworkers to work together. And so this is an environment where we have our female leaders pulling up the ladder with them, not trying to hold down. At CDW, I encourage all of our new coworkers that are entering into the programs that my team and I support and lead to say, this is a safe place to go up to a leader in the organization and say, I'd like to have your job someday. And that's not a threatening comment. That's a comment where somebody's going to be excited and say, that's fantastic. Let me help you get there. And so to me, that summarizes a lot of it, right? It is this amazing culture that is one that wants to help others. It has been a key differentiator in our growth, I believe. It's why you hear people have been at CDW for so long, is because of these opportunities and the spirit of helping others accomplish their career goals, doing, as Tam said, like purposeful and meaningful work, and helping them align their strengths, right, to where they can do that in the organization. So I think that that's something that's really special, is really this pull up with you type of a mentality. So that's fantastic. And when we look at women specifically, if you have the opportunity to go out to CDW's website and look at our leadership team, it will prove what you see there will prove what we're going to talk about. But it is about being intentional about helping our female talent in the organization grow as well through a lot of different programs. Like I said, it's intentional. You do have this, kind of grassroots where everybody wants to pull everybody up with them, and you have that formal and informal mentoring happening, but it's also through formal programs. So we have an organization called ONE, which is the Women's Opportunity Network, and we do a lot of really great work with each other as a part of this organization, different career development topics, different topics that are going to be important to women in the workplace, providing learning opportunities, networking opportunities across the organization, through just a variety of different activities that we have throughout the year. There are a lot of subcommittees within the Women's Opportunity Network as well to make sure that we really have meaningful efforts in a lot of different areas as well. And all of our coworkers, regardless of male or female, are welcome to join the organization and be a part of it. And you will see that we really do have a pretty diverse group as a part of this organization. And I think that's fantastic too, because it shows commitment across the organization, not just with a small group of us, right? Everybody wants to help and be a part of this. So that's one. We also do have women leadership programs, right? So for those who wish to get into leadership, making sure that they're having the opportunities to grow and develop in the ways that they need to in order to get there, as well as continued education for our leaders who are women as well. So I would say very intentional programs, along with the informal as well that takes place day in and day out at our organization.
Great. I love that. And I think is a great segue to our next question, because it really does speak to the importance of diversity and inclusion at CDW. So Tam, as a leader in that area for the company, can you tell us a little bit about y'all's D&I philosophy and why it is so important to the company?
Absolutely. If I were to distill our philosophy into one sentence, our ultimate goal is that we want every single coworker to be unique and still belong. That is our ultimate goal. So there is a lot that goes into a lot of different levers that, obviously go into creating an environment where coworkers can be unique and can belong. One of those levers is obviously making sure that we do have diverse representation. So it really is important to make sure that that representation is felt at all levels across all of our functions, right? We want to make sure that we have a mix, and not just of your traditional dimensions of diversity, but all aspects of diversity, backgrounds, ways of thinking, communication styles, etc., in addition to your traditional dimensions of diversity that you think about. That's the uniqueness. That's what makes us who we are. And without it, we won't be able to, actualize this philosophy. The second lever that we pull is obviously inclusion, right? So you've got this mix, and it's what do you do with that mix? How do you make that mix work so that we're better collaborators with one another, that we're more innovative, that we continue to elevate who we are in the market and as an organization and what we produce, right? So the inclusion lever is really about not just having these differences, but really maximizing these differences to achieve better business results. And then the belonging component is a newer one to CDW, but it really has become our foundation, because it is one of those things where somebody can have their own subjective definition of inclusion, somebody can have their own subjective definition of diversity, but belonging is very binary and it's very relatable, because if I were to ask anybody on this webinar to think about a time where they didn't belong and how that made them feel, everybody could have a story to pull from. Same thing with when they felt like they belong. So it really becomes a relatable way to attract people to understanding what we're trying to accomplish and engage them along that journey. And so belonging has become incredibly pivotal. And then the last lever that we really utilize to make sure that this happens is equity, right? Being able to make sure that we have equitable resources, that we can level the playing field as we continue to make sure, again, that as every coworker comes into this organization, they have that opportunity to sustain their career here and be able to take their career to whatever heights they want to. And so those are the levers that we pull. But again, ultimately, our goal is for every single coworker to be their unique self and still belong at CDW.
I love that. That's such a great philosophy. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I really liked what you were saying about, going beyond just the traditional diversity definition, because there are so many other levers, to use your word, that contribute to diversity. So thanks again for sharing that. I do want to remind folks that we will be taking questions probably around the 12:45-ish mark. So if you have some, please feel free to use the Q&A functionality. I also want to switch gears just a little bit. So Katrina, you are part of sales leadership at CDW, and I know they are actively hiring for sales roles right now. And I know a lot of our participants are probably interested in those roles. So could you talk us through a little bit, like what an average day might look like for a sales professional at the company?
Absolutely. So yes, we are actively hiring for sellers at CDW, and I'm pretty passionate about this role, as it's where my career started with the organization. So I can speak from some firsthand experience of what that day is like for you. So as a seller at CDW, I think one of the most important things really starts with a mindset, right? Of how it is you want to partner with our customers at CDW. And one that I always had was, I want my customers to feel like I am a part of their leadership team, their technology team. You want to be involved in the strategic conversations with your customers, not just about what it is they need IT to deliver for their business or their organization today, but also in the future. And so that's where you want your relationship with your customers to go. And the way that you get there is through showing a vested interest in their business outcomes and how you can help them accomplish their outcomes through the use of technology, and doing so in a way that builds trust with every interaction. So every interaction you have with a customer is an opportunity to build or deteriorate trust. And so you want to go in with that mindset of, what is it you want to accomplish? How do you want your customers to feel about you as a part of their team? And how are you going to cultivate a relationship like that? So it's a customer first, customer centric organization that we are here. We say our customer is in the center of everything we do, and we mean that. And so we lead with that customer first approach, and it's our job to help them be successful in their organization. And so what that ends up looking like, right, is really a lot of meaningful conversations with customers throughout the day. And those customers that you're going to be working with, they might be in procurement for an organization because you've worked with the leadership team to put together a full stack solution of software, services, hardware for your organization, your customer's organization. And you might be at the purchasing phase and working with people in procurement. You might also be at the beginning part of this work and working with different IT directors, data center engineers in your customer's organization. You might be working with a K-12 organization. You think about what it is that education has been through over the last year, and having conversations about how we can get technology into the hands of students to enable their learning and to bridge gaps and divide that exists in learning, and how can technology help these students learn. And so you're involved in these types of conversations all day long. So the majority of your day is talking with your customers, understanding what it is they're trying to accomplish and how CDW and you can help them accomplish that goal. So it is a lot of time in web meetings, a lot of time on the phone. It's also a lot of time working with the additional resources that are available to you at CDW to help you bring those solutions to bear for your customer. So a large part of your time will also be working with different solution architects that we have in the business as you're crafting what the right solution is to help the customer achieve their objective. So you'll build relationships with those solution architects in the business. You'll also be working with some field sellers in the business. We have really meaningful relationships with our partners, our manufacturer partners. You spend a lot of time working with them as well to not only learn what it is that they're bringing to market and how it could help your customer, but also on crafting those solutions for your customers as well. So there is, you always have a lot of balls in the air that you're juggling as a seller at CDW, because you can probably feel that already just from all the different people that you're going to be working with throughout the day. So the good news is, if you really like working with people, this is a great job for that, because it is what you are doing all day long. And those are some of the main players that you're going to be working with. Another really unique piece of CDW's culture that I love, and it's the reason I do the work that I do, is that we are a learning organization. So there will be learning that takes place as a part of your day as well. Again, that's a balance of formal learning, informal learning, coaching, mentoring opportunities, and the people that are here to help support you in what I call like the ecosystem of support for our sellers at CDW are the supervisors that are there to help you throughout the day, really meaningful coworkers you get to work with when you might have something you're like, this just happened with a customer's order and I'm not quite sure what to do. Help coach and guide me through that. Help me understand what has happened. The sales manager is there to help coach and guide you in your business, work with you strategically on how to grow your business, but also work with you to help grow and develop your career and make sure that there's a meaningful plan for you to accomplish your goals and objectives as well. And then there's also teams like mine who are here to make sure that all of our sellers have the opportunity to participate in learning through many different channels, and whatever is one that's going to be most meaningful to you. That might mean that you join a cohort-based workshop where you bring your business to class and you get to learn about a new sales skill through practical application and building a plan that you can take back to your book of business, or more on-demand learning if that's something that resonates with you more as well. And also making sure all of our sellers have learning that they can access in the flow of work, right? So something that's quick and easy to digest. If you know you're going to go into a customer call about a particular topic, you want to learn a little bit more about it before you have that call. There are these bite-sized pieces of learning that you can consume to help support your efforts in that next conversation with a customer as well. So I would say it's a large majority of your time is going to be spent interacting with your customers, thinking strategically with them, having conversations about how technology can help them achieve their goals. Coaching conversations, opportunity to grow and develop your own career through all of the different parts we've talked about, but continued learning will be a meaningful part of your time and your day. And then also working with other stakeholders in the business, like other departments at CDW, our partner community, so on and so forth.
That's awesome. It sounds like a lot of fun. Personally, and I love the CDW's focus on training and development. It's so critical to all professionals. So you touched a little bit on this in your on what a day might look like, but I'm curious to know, Katrina, do you think there are any particular skills or traits that you think are necessary for salespeople at the company?
I do. So I do think you have to have a really strong appetite for continual learning. The IT industry is one that is changing constantly. So the what you're talking to your customers about is something you have to stay on top of to make sure that you have the relevancy that you need for your customers. So a thirst for learning is something that's really, really important to succeed in sales at CDW. I would also say resiliency, right? One of the things that we know about sales, regardless of where you are, is as much as you want to win every deal, you don't. As much as you want to win over every customer, you don't. So it's the ability to not just be able to move on after that, but also be able to learn why, right? Why we didn't win that particular opportunity or that customer, so that we can increase our chances in the future. And you learn from that. Again, every engagement is an opportunity to learn. But in order to be available to learn, you have to be resilient, right? It's not personal, right? It just means that we didn't do something. We could learn something from that and be able to do it the next time. So I think resiliency is really important, and also a lot of agility. One of the things that we talked about at the beginning is that one of the constants at CDW is change. And I really think that has been a key to our success over the years, is the fact that we do have this appetite for change, and things are always changing. We always, as an organization, want to improve and be able to serve our customers better. And in order for us to do that, we need to be willing to change all the time. But that also means, as an organization, there's a lot of changes. So if you're someone who thrives on change, you can be agile, then this is a great fit for you.
Great. I love that. And so Shannon, I want to turn it over to you as well. In addition to sales, could you kind of talk us through some other key departments or roles that CDW is hiring for right now?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I saw that question, and it's funny because I recruit so much for our sales organization. And so even though sales is like a big, big part of what we're recruiting for now, there are some other areas as well. Without a doubt. So I know, Katrina, you did such a great job with talking about kind of a day in the life of sales and that kind of thing, which is great. I know we're also hiring for our ITS positions currently, right? With kind of some engineers, and we would love, Katrina, you said it so nicely the other day in terms of really looking for some great female talent that we can really bring into some of those roles. So I think after this too, we're going to highlight some of those specific roles in ITS that we'll be focusing on as well. And then in addition to that, a lot are kind of in our sales realm. CDW is very much a performance-driven and a sales-driven organization. And I know this year there's been a huge investment in our field seller roles in certain geographic territories throughout the United States. And as Katrina was talking about, it's really that core consultative sales where we're building these strong connections and relationships with our customer to kind of be the right-hand arm, I guess, of the customer directly. And they build that trust and that relationship with us. And then that's what has made us really so successful to continue to grow the portfolio of products and services and solutions to them. So it's very, very strategic, you know, looking for those skill set, as you were saying earlier, Katrina, driven and hungry and motivated, and then also coachable, willing to kind of take that coaching in that direction from those leaders, because their goal is to kind of help grow a lot of those skill sets. And we've seen things that have worked out in the field. So mainly I would say field seller roles, those ITS, the engineering type roles, as well as we also have our inside sales force that does a lot of that kind of day-to-day interaction with our customer over the phone, building that strong connection with them again in those relationships, uncovering those new opportunities. We've obviously had to pivot a lot with this pandemic going on, so a lot of webinars and phone calls and conversations, and it's really set us up for a lot of success here in 2021, where now as things are starting to open up, I think we're going to see a lot more in the field and working with our customers face to face, because that's so much of where, you know, you really can build that connection. So
Absolutely.
I forgot.
Absolutely. No, that was great. Thank you for sharing that. And I agree. I can't wait to get back to face-to-face stuff with everyone.
Sure.
Leading diversity inclusion, Tam, at CDW, I'd love to hear your perspective as well on how the company has adapted to the pandemic in terms of virtual work and kind of what the eventual return to office looks like, as Shannon was just sharing as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So COVID has turned everybody's world upside down, right? I don't think that there's anybody on this webinar that would disagree with that. And I think, last March was an interesting time for us, right? We were an organization previously that really thrived on being in the office and really interacting with our coworkers face to face or interacting with our customers. And so the transition was one that we really had to be agile with and had to really adapt to. One of the things that I was so impressed with, just as a coworker, not even as a leader in D&I, was that the coworker well-being was at the forefront of everything that CDW did related to that transition, making sure that our health was at the forefront, that we had resources available, that even the transition to working from home was smooth, that there was just kind of, I use the word grace a lot. There was so much grace that was extended. For me, I have a 2-year-old, and for the first year, literally, of the pandemic, I was working full time with a 1-year-old running around in the background, right? And I think we all had to kind of adjust what we felt our expectations were, right? And what we expected of one another. And so there was just such a grace that we all started to extend to one another. And, they started calling my daughter the intern, and we just embrace things, or the dogs, right? We just embrace things that we wouldn't necessarily have embraced before. And I thought it was so beautiful to kind of watch this evolution. And I think the other thing from a DE&I perspective that I saw during this pandemic, again, coworker well-being was at the forefront. We're extending grace, and now we started extending our reach, right? Again, we were an organization that was very much so used to face-to-face interaction and being in an office. And now our reach started to just grow and extend beyond the people that we would just see in the office. Now it started extending even across, global lines, right? And it was a beautiful thing to just watch our ability to extend our reach and our connections across the organization. And so, yes, we are all looking forward to being back to some level of normalcy, getting back into the office. But if there's two things from a DE&I perspective that I want us to take back when we go into the office, are those two things. I want us to continue to think about what grace looks like, and not necessarily having a static expectation of how people are supposed to show up or what they're supposed to look like, or those sorts of things. And then we have to make sure that we continue that reach. And I really do believe strongly that we are positioned now in an ability to be able to do both of those things. And so that's kind of the lesson that we've learned. And in the forefront of all of that, again, keeping our coworkers and our coworkers' well-being also at the forefront.
Yeah, Tam, I listening to you talk about that, like you can feel it all happening all over again, right? You feel that connection and that grace and the focus on our well-being that was there and was so authentic when it was shared. I also think there's such a sense of empathy, I think, that we really got from the last year as well.
Absolutely.
And not that we weren't an empathetic organization before, but this whole working from home, like you got a view into people's lives, right? More than you do by going to the office. Like it brings me such joy to see Tam's intern with her every day. And, and there are times where it was, just wonderful. And that's exactly what you needed in the day, right? And then there were also times where, Tam's intern wasn't so much into the meeting, right? And there was empathy that was given. It was that grace. It was that connection that I think is really so powerful for us too, to just, step outside of your own reality. And this gave us such a view into that. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And I think that's something that's going to stay with us, even as things return to whatever the new normal is.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I piggyback on that. I also agree that it's been an interesting year to say the least, but I think a lot of silver linings to your point, Tam, about grace and belonging and extending your reach is so critical. So I want to ask a bit of a tactical question of y'all too. We've been talking a lot about culture and roles that are opening, but what are some of the benefits or perks that women could expect if they were to join CDW? Katrina, let's start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I already talked about the One Network, and there's a lot of really fun, amazing things that happen because of the Women's Opportunity Network. And I love a lot of those things. I have a lot of them, I think, collecting on my shelf behind me too, of things that we get and are shared with us as a part of that organization. Like that's a little candle. It's a CDW candle with a motivational message. So there's little tiny things like that, right? But they can really brighten your day when you receive them. I think for me, some of the ones that I've really enjoyed the most, I am a lifelong learner. It's something that drives me. I really enjoy it. So we do have a tuition reimbursement program at CDW that I have actively taken advantage of. And I know others on the call with us today have as well. And that to me is something that's just so important because it's the organization investing in me further than what's already available to me to learn and all the other resources, but it's allowing me to go outside and continue my education as well in a meaningful way. And having that financial support, right, from the organization in order to do so. So that's one I have actively taken advantage of, and I'm very thankful for having had it. We also realizing that, you know, not one perk or benefit perfectly fits everybody. We have an area that's called like Perk Spot, right? And it's all these different perks that are out there and available to all of our coworkers. And so you can go out there and see which one, you know, you connect with, which is something that's important to you. And it's a whole host of range of things that are available. I would also say some of the ones that are really meaningful and have been particularly helpful. We've had them for a long time, but just in what we were all experiencing over the last year was really helpful as well. We do have a coworker assistance program available to us. And this program is everything from mental health well-being that you can reach out for, regular webinars that take place on different topics like, you know, personal finances, again, mental health. They'll even help you find childcare if you need it, which when this pandemic was upon us and all of a sudden we had all of our children at home and we had our significant others working from home, like we were all here, right? And trying to figure out childcare in a way that was safe for you and your family. That's something that they offer. So lots of different things. It's really a menu of things, and you can choose and select the things that are most meaningful to you. And I love that we have those partnerships and relationships with different organizations that make things like finding the right childcare solution for us available to us, whether it's a temporary thing or it's, you know, a more ongoing thing, with different organizations like care.com, who will also help you if you need help. If you have aging parents that you need to care for, you can reach out to get some help with that as well. So I really enjoy the fact that we have so many different things available to us that allows me to select the things that are most meaningful for myself and my family.
Can I add one more, Mary? Because I would say,
Oh yeah, please.
Pretty much all the things that Katrina said, but I think one of the things that has just literally changed my life for the better, we also continue to evolve our benefits. And so we have a very robust fertility program and benefits and things of that nature. And it is because of those fertility programs that I am a mom, and I do have an intern that's running around half the time. She's at daycare now, but I think that that's another really pivotal piece because it was life-changing for me. And so I, you know, feel indebted to CDW for having that benefit and the ability to help me become a mom. So that's the only other one I would add on top of what Katrina shared.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Tam. I love that. So I want to move into our lightning round where we're going to get quick snippets from y'all on a few questions. So let's start with the one thing you wish more women knew about working at CDW. Tam, let's start with you.
So I do think it is the carry as you climb, as Katrina was mentioning. I think it's very easy to see, kind of this representation at the top, and knowing that we have the ability to carry those up with us gives you the opportunity. And when you see people in those roles that look like you, it gives you the vision that you can be there as well. And I think that's really important to note, that when you come, there's that commitment to seeing that through for all of our female coworkers as well.
Katrina?
So I would say the same. So I'll take a little bit of a different spin on it, because that was something that's what I feel too. So I guess I would say that, if you are a woman in technology, or you want to be in technology, this is a pretty awesome place to do it because of what Tam has said. So technology can be an absolutely amazing place for women, although you don't always see women equally represented in technology, right? Come here for all the reasons that Tam said. And so that's, that is what I would share is this is a great place to have a career in technology as a woman.
Great, I love that. So I want to open it up to Q&A with our audience. We're already getting a lot of awesome questions. Shannon, I want to start with you because we're getting quite a few questions about the recruiting process and what that looks like and where folks should start if they are interested. So could you kind of talk us through that process, how participants connect with recruiters, and your best advice for applying with CDW?
Absolutely, I'd love to. Absolutely. And when I was thinking about this too, I kind of have just some overall advice and then some more kind of tactical process advice. So no, we're thrilled to have you guys and apply and for different opportunities within CDW. So a couple of quick things. In terms of overall advice, don't give up. Keep determined at it. I know it's a nerve-wracking experience, especially when you're going through your job search. So definitely keep at it and stay positive. Those are my two kind of overall kind of big advice things. Don't get discouraged. I know it's a tough process, but if you can stay positive, you really just trust the process and it'll happen for you. So some practical tips for you guys. Make sure, the couple things I had was make sure you do have a strong updated resume. That is really important. And make sure you're highlighting your key accomplishments in a clear and concise manner. Many recruiters, we're scanning resumes. That's the first view that we have of you. So make sure that your resume is really strong and buttoned up with all of the keywords that you want to make sure that we know about you up front. All of our open positions should be posted on our CDW website, cdwjobs.com, as well as a lot are on LinkedIn as well. I know we have some posted on Fairy Godboss that you could also look at. When you apply to a position or you're looking at it, be sure to really look through the job description to make sure it aligns with your career goals and your experience. That is really a big part of it. And you can actually tailor your resume to make sure those keywords are highlighted. In addition to that, make sure, please, that you meet the requirements for the position. Legally, we have to make sure that you're meeting all of the minimum requirements for that role. So as you're kind of in your research and looking through opportunities, make sure that you meet those qualifications when you're applying. But that's the way that we actually get you into our database system, is from actually applying to one of our positions with your application and then that updated resume. So that would be kind of my first thing to work on is to do that. The second thing and advice I have overall too is it is all about networking. We always say network, network, network. A huge percentage of the people that we actually bring into CDW are kind of through referrals or people that they know that also work at CDW. So please feel free to connect with a CDW, a coworker that you might be connected with myself. I'm on LinkedIn. Please feel free to connect with me directly. And as you apply, if there's a certain position that you're focused on, let me know and maybe I can get you aligned with that correct recruiter. find more about it, but it all starts with really that research. So, try to avoid sending a resume and saying, what do you think I'd be a good fit for? Really try to go through some of the positions, see what best aligns to your experience. And then, yeah, please feel free to network. I would love to see any requests that come through so that I can kind of help in your career journey or career search. So please feel free to do that. And then utilize social media. CDW is on a couple of different social media platforms. We're on Twitter. Please feel free to follow us on Glassdoor. So utilize those two to understand and learn a little bit more about CDW. And then there's some certain positions as well that are on there that you can always access to research more as well.
Awesome.
So those are good tips.
Yes, no, that's a great overview, not just for CDW, but I think for any job search, it's such great practical advice. And I think that research and networking is so key in helping determine your next move. So we have had a few questions about office locations and remote work policy. And I know so many people are virtual right now. So could one of y'all share a little bit about what that looks like at CDW?
Absolutely. I don't mind jumping in on that one. So CDW has multiple locations all across the United States, Canada, the UK, and some other international locations. So lots of different offices in lots of different parts of our world. So I saw some questions coming up about Toronto and everything else. Yes, we are there. So please do look for CDW Canada. We do have a Toronto office, as well as several others throughout Canada, again, the UK, over 20 offices here in the United States as well, throughout the whole country. When we look at what the remote work policy is, everything is in the state of change right now because of again, the global pandemic and all of us having to, go to remote work while also making sure that for our roles that required in-person work, like in our distribution centers, our configuration centers, to make sure that our products and services were still being delivered to our customers and to our delivery engineers who were on customer sites, making sure that we kept it a safe environment for them. And to Tam's point earlier, like everybody's health and safety and well-being has been the lead in everything that we've done. Even for those roles that are still requiring in-person work, that's at the forefront of everything. So what will it look like in the future? I don't know that anybody can say because of all of the different things that we've learned. However, I will say there are a host of roles at CDW, and some of them even prior to the pandemic were, full-time work at home roles. Some of them were full-time in the office roles. Some were hybrid. So I would say that there's a multitude of approaches even before the pandemic that we took to how our good work gets accomplished. And so it really just depends on the role and the requirements of the role. And is it a role that does require you to be in one area versus another, in person or remote? It all kind of ties back to the work that we're doing and how we can produce that good work and what that requires. And then we'll see what the future holds, right? As we continue to move through this pandemic.
Absolutely. I think we all wish we had a crystal ball to see where we would be a few months from now. At the beginning of our chat, I also dropped a link to CDW's official Fairy Godboss profile, and I will drop it in the chat. So if you're feeling so inspired like I am through this conversation, I encourage you to check out their page and explore open roles as well. So another thing I'm curious that a few users have asked, and I'd be curious to hear y'all's perspective. You mentioned a lot of training and development programs. Are there formalized leadership track leadership track programs at the company? I see you both shaking your head, so I'm just going to turn it over to y'all to dive in on that question.
That's a Katrina answer because that's her world.
I'm
But
glad to
yes.
talk about it. The answer is yes. And the answer is there's more than one. So that's the great news. There is a ton of support, not only for our emerging leaders in the organization, but also our new leaders and our tenured leaders in the organization. Very early in career with CDW, we do in our sales organization, we do have a program that looks for future leaders, right? So looking to identify those who have those aspirations in their career, to help to support get you additional experiences that will help build your leadership skill and ability and learn more about the organization. So we do have a future leaders program. We then also have, and that's in our sales organization specifically, and with the goal of identifying newer in career, right? And newer to CDW, I should say, newer to CDW talent that has future leadership aspirations. We also, across the organization, have our emerging leaders program. So this is a very formal program that goes to help those who are our kind of next gen leaders, think of them, right? So our emerging leaders in the organization, not yet leaders. And what we do is we help them go through a meaningful program of personal development as well as exploring the business. So as a part of this, you'll participate in things like Six Sigma, right? And understanding lean processes, how to really identify opportunities and then seeing those things through. You get to work with a cross-functional group of other emerging leaders throughout your work with this. And in addition to the formal learning that you have the opportunity to be placed on a real business opportunity that lives at CDW. And you move through the process of exploring that opportunity, building a business case for the opportunity, putting together a proposed solution for the opportunity. And it all concludes with your cross-functional group of emerging leaders presenting to our executives formally on what your team has identified and how you suggest CDW solves for and takes advantage of this opportunity that's there. So it's a really meaningful opportunity to sink your teeth into some really good work. Then once you do become a leader at CDW, we have a few different programs to help you. We have our new leader program, which takes all new leaders, supervisor and above from across the organization and helps them continue to grow and develop their leadership skills. Everything from how do you hire the right talent on your team to coaching conversations, crucial conversations, how do you have those, and helps to enable our newest leaders to be successful in the organization. We also, for our sales leaders and our integrated technology solutions leaders, we have a leadership academy program that actually takes our leaders through their first full year in those functions. The first 30 days are dedicated to your onboarding as a new leader. And we help you to just establish and build the foundation and a plan for you to approach your team. So day 31, when you have the coworkers reporting to you on your team, you now have spent the last 30 days building your foundation for this business, and you've got an executable plan of how to work your business and interact with your coworkers, and you've had the chance to get to know them. This program also continues months 2 through 12 as you're in your first year of leadership there, and you will participate in additional cohort-based workshops. So this allows you the opportunity to bring your business to our class with fellow peers of yours. It gives you the opportunity to learn a skill and about a leadership topic, but also talk with your peer group about this, about an opportunity you might have on your team, get other perspectives, network and build relationships with other first-year leaders in the organization. And again, everything is a bring your business, right, to class and workshop. So you do get to leave with an executable plan for that as well. Some of those topics that we continue on is things like managerial decision making, influencing through powerful presentations, financial acumen, change management, a host of other topics as well.
That's awesome. So what you're saying is there's no dearth of opportunities for leadership at CDW. I love that. So we are right at time. And so I want to turn it over to y'all for really quickly, one last piece of advice, wisdom, parting words for all of our participants. Shannon, let's start with you.
All right, awesome. Well, gosh, thank you guys so much again for having us here today. It's been a pleasure kind of talking through this with you. Gosh, one last piece of advice, I would just say again, just stay positive. You know, if you follow a couple of those tips and tricks that we had kind of talked about earlier, you will just be awesome. Just be confident with your skills. You have so much great experience and so many accomplishments that relate so well to various positions that you're applying for. So just stick with it, and yeah, I think, and then you'll do great. So thanks again. I'm already starting to get some LinkedIn requests on my phone. I see them pop up, so hopefully they're from a few of you all, which is great, and I'll try to help in any way I can. So thanks again for hearing all of this. It's exciting to see all the great interest here. So thank you.
Yeah, love the networking in action. Tam, what about you? Any parting words, advice?
Absolutely. So what I would say is, as you're going through this journey, know and recognize your worth and your value, right? There is nobody in the world like you. And that is a tremendous thing to bring to the table. So regardless of what your journey might look like, just remember your value and your worth and carry that with you as you go through the journey. And also, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure being a part of this conversation.
Thank you, Tam. And last but not least, Katrina?
I think there's going to be some consistency in what we say here. You're going to hear a strong message. My piece of advice always is around confidence, right? You are what has gotten you this far so far. Don't abandon that now, right? Authenticity is so important at CDW. Please, as you are applying and interviewing with us, let us see who you really are. Again, you are what has gotten you this far. Don't give up on that now. And I'll just echo, thank you again for having me a part of this today. I really appreciate that.
Well, I think y'all, those are just some of the best words to end our conversation on, and a great way to cap off our Friday heading into the weekend. Thank you to CDW for partnering with us on this awesome conversation, and thanks to all of you who joined. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thanks again. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.